Welcome, everyone, to the Under the Hood podcast with Stallion Capital Management. My name is Vincent Balagia. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Stallion Capital Management. Today, our guest is Andrew Almeida from Rise and Shine Partners out of New York City. So, Andrew, welcome to the Under the Hood podcast and welcome to Austin, Texas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Vince. This is great. I love Texas.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's still slightly cool outside, just you're not melting. So I'm glad you're not here in August.
Yeah, well, I like the heat, so I'll take it.
So Andrew, I think we have some really interesting things to talk about today. We're going to talk a lot about blockchain, a lot about what you guys are doing. But I kind of want to get started with first things first. Tell me just a little bit about what you're doing over at Rise and Shine. How you've gotten there, because anytime I have a founder on the show, I'm an entrepreneur myself, and so that's always an interesting story. And then I want to get into really what you see changing the market and how it's going to apply across investments and finance. We'll get there. Just give me a little bit about your history in getting to where you are.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the financial services industry my whole career. You know, I actually got started out when I was 18. Wow. Got my Series 7. Started as an equity broker.
That's not easy at 18. Good.
Yeah, and I put myself through college, worked at a number of financial institutions that we all know, and then started out consulting primarily for RIAs and family offices on their investments from a multi-asset class point of view.
So kind of looking at the entire portfolio?
The entire portfolio, whether it be a financial advisor, a family office, or another fund manager. I was consulting them on their total investable assets.
Great. Okay.
On that journey, I was actually advising a blockchain founder, and I started to learn the industry a lot more. Got to see a lot of the deal flow and projects that were out there, and see through a lot of the garbage in the marketplace.
Interesting.
But having spent a career working with RIAs and advisors, I realized this is a space that isn't going away, and that the advisor community is going to want to understand.
And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about it right now. What approximate time frame on when that journey began when you were working with the blockchain founder?
That was about 3 years ago. We started working together.
Good
so
deal.
that's when I really took my interest in blockchain. Or a lot of people will say crypto. I don't like to use that word. I think the term cryptocurrency is what's gotten a lot of people confused.
Okay.
A currency by definition has to be legal tender sanctioned by a government, right?
Right.
So that these are not currencies.
And I think that's what people think when people talk about blockchain. They're thinking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, other cryptocurrencies, like you're saying.
Right.
But it seems like there's a lot of there's a lot of other things that can be used in the ecosystem.
Exactly, and there's a lot more to it, and that's what's coming now. The blockchain crypto community has had a terrible 15 years of naming things, right? Whether it be cryptocurrency or using all these acronyms to describe things, but what's got lost, I think, is really what was the initial breakthrough that Satoshi gave us. And a lot of people don't understand necessarily the innovation that happened because it's very simple.
Well, I'd love to go there. So maybe we go to the beginning, to the innovation, to this revolution that people talk about that really understand it. Give us a picture of what really happened when blockchain came out.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have the financial crisis in 2008, and then I think it was January 2009, right? The Bitcoin white paper, and we get Bitcoin, and people start looking at this like, okay, we can have this global currency where everyone can use it, right? And that's very surface level. But what did he break through at a technological level? And what he broke through was something very simple. It's the way we come to agreement.
Interesting. Okay. So the way we agree on things.
The way we agree on things, information, data, not just a money transaction, all data transmissions.
Interesting.
Right? So what he broke through was the proof of work, right? Consensus protocol, right? Consensus being the way we come to agreement. And that's why I'm here in your lovely state of Texas. We're filming this during the consensus conference, more or less.
And why is that so important? Why is consensus such a big deal with transactions or agreements or anything else?
Yeah, because it has to do with the ways compute, right? Computers, servers communicate with each other and transmit data, right? So historically, the way we would come to agreement under classical consensus protocols would be communicating with every server on the system. Or to use a more simple example that people could understand, you could think about the US Senate.
Okay.
And the US Senate would vote, right? 100 senators and a vote counter. The vote counter counts the vote. He gives us the result. But imagine that vote counter wasn't there.
Sure. Okay. Makes it a little more difficult to figure out who's winning,
who won the vote,
exactly,
or what the vote is, what the outcome is.
Sure.
Now, what you would have to do to make sure no one is lying or cheat the system is you would cast your vote, and then you would go count all other 99 other votes. And so would I, and so would the next guy, so that we would all come to an answer. Now, we should all come to the same answer of the vote count. We've all independently done it. So that now if you lie, you say, hey, I won. Vince for president.
Yeah.
We would identify you as a liar.
And everyone else would know that.
And everyone else would know that. That's consensus, right? That's coming to agreement in the classical manner for computing. Take this back to the 70s, 60s, right? Now, through some technological developments, hashing, digital signatures, and cryptography and securing data, Satoshi pieced a couple of things together. But what he really changed, he had to think differently. He had to think about how he come to agreement differently. So he used a lot of fancy technology and cryptography features, but he had to think differently. And he said, we have to change the way we come to agreement. And the proof of work system did that.
I see.
And through cryptography, right? And through, think about like a WhatsApp message that's encrypted. I send you a message, right? No one has that information.
Right. It's nice. It's secure.
It's nice and secure in that transmission. But so think about a WhatsApp message. That message is encrypted from end to end, right? We've transmitted data.
Right.
Right. I have it. You have it. It's secure. Now, what Satoshi did, he said, okay, let's use this. Let's use a lot of computing power, right? To unencrypt these messages, right? So proof of work effectively says, we're going to use all this compute, right, to identify what is inside of this message, right? So let's say I sent you $100.
All right.
Right. So now everyone on the network, everyone running a Bitcoin mine, maybe you've heard of these miners.
I have heard of the miners. They're providing a lot of the computing power behind the network, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So now the miners are pushing all this compute power to determine what's inside that message.
I see.
Right. But now this is the beauty. Satoshi changed the way he thinks, right, about how we do this. And he said, we need to compete to come to agreement.
Interesting.
Right.
That's very, it's an interesting way to come to agreement, but it seems maybe fair. So maybe that works.
Exactly. And that simple kind of change with the technology behind it created the proof of work system. And it works like this. All the miners are putting all this computing power to unencrypt the message, right? The first guy cracks the code, reveals the message. Andrew sent Vince $100. But all the other miners have been trying to do this as well, right?
Same time, yeah.
So now he broadcasts the answer. He says, hey, guys, got it. Now they prove work, just like handing in your math problem.
That's interesting.
So now they have the answer. It's much easier to determine if that is the correct answer.
So if you have the answer, it's easier to validate it.
Now. So now every miner comes behind him and says, I got the same answer. 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 It's true. We validated that data. Andrew sent Vince $100. We printed on the blockchain.
I see. And that's the digital ledger.
That's the digital shared ledger that everyone
ledger.
knows. So the two pieces, consensus, is very important. People are losing that a little bit on what's important about these technologies, changing the way we come to agreement. Now it's on the ledger, the shared public ledger. It's immutable. We know that that's true. You can't change that, right?
I see.